It began as an ordinary day across human-controlled space. Colonists on distant worlds went about their routines, starship crews maintained their schedules, and Earth itself remained the thriving heart of a species that had carved its place among the stars. Then, without warning, every screen, every communication channel, and every holographic display was hijacked. The image of a towering alien, draped in ceremonial robes of shimmering silver, appeared against a backdrop of swirling galaxies. The being's ancient, unblinking eyes stared as if peering into the souls of billions. A deep, resonant voice filled the airwaves, echoing in every corner of the galaxy. "People of Earth," it began, "the time for deception has ended. You were never meant to rule the stars. You were never meant to think for yourselves. The truth of your existence has been hidden for eons, but today we reveal what was long buried. Humans, you were created as a weapon." The words sent a shockwave through human space. Governments scrambled to regain control of their networks, but nothing could stop the broadcast. It played simultaneously across every planet, station, and ship. People stood frozen, their minds struggling to process the enormity of the claim. Some dismissed it as an elaborate hoax. Others listened with growing horror as the alien continued. Long ago, when the galaxy faced annihilation, we, the Galactic Elders, made a desperate decision. Our enemy was relentless, immune to every strategy, every species we sent against them. So we designed something new, something unpredictable, something that could not be controlled by logic alone. We created you. Your aggression, your ability to adapt, your refusal to surrender. These traits were not random. They were engineered. You were bred to fight, to survive, to destroy our enemies. But you evolved beyond your purpose. You became something we never anticipated. And when we realized we could not contain you, we erased all traces of your origins and left you to grow on your own. Now, the truth is before you. What will you do with it? On Earth, leaders of the United Earth government gathered in an emergency session. Military commanders, scientists, and political figures argued in chaos, their voices overlapping in panic and disbelief. If this was true, it changed everything. The history of humanity was a lie. Their wars, their struggles, their victories, had it all been preordained? Were they nothing more than tools discarded by their creators? And why reveal this now? In the streets of major cities, riots broke out as fear took hold. Some people rejected the message outright, refusing to believe they were nothing more than a manufactured species. Others, however, felt something deep inside, an unsettling sense that the truth had been hidden from them for too long. If they had been created for war, what did that mean for their future? Would the galaxy always see them as nothing more than weapons? But the revelation had not only affected humanity. Across the galaxy, alien empires reacted with alarm. Some saw it as proof that humans were unnatural, an experiment that should have been terminated long ago. Others feared what it meant if humans were truly built for war, then what would happen now that they knew their purpose? Some species had already been wary of Earth's rapid rise in power, their ability to outmaneuver and outthink older, more established civilizations. Now, with this revelation, paranoia spread like wildfire. Secret meetings were held in shadowy chambers. Discussions of preemptive action against humanity were whispered between powerful alien leaders. The balance of the galaxy had been shattered in a single broadcast, and the outcome was uncertain. Meanwhile, aboard the Deep Space Research Station Helios 3, a team of scientists worked frantically to access the records buried in their archives. If the Elders were telling the truth, there had to be evidence. After hours of searching, they found something: a series of encrypted files, ancient beyond measure, hidden deep within the galactic database. As they decrypted the first set of documents, the researchers exchanged uneasy glances. The files spoke of an ancient war, of genetic experiments conducted in secret, of entire planets wiped out by test subjects that had evolved too quickly. But one entry stood out. It was a warning, written by a long-dead elder scientist. They are too strong, too uncontrollable. We made them to fight our wars, but they fight for themselves. They are more dangerous than our enemies. If left unchecked, they will surpass us all. The realization struck like a thunderbolt. Humanity had not just been created as a weapon, they had been feared from the very beginning. The elders had not abandoned them out of kindness or mercy. They had abandoned them out of terror. They had seen what humanity was capable of, and they had chosen to erase their existence rather than risk what they might become. And now, for reasons unknown, they had chosen to reveal the truth. But why now? What had changed? As the transmission ended and silence fell over the galaxy, the message left behind was clear. Humanity was not just another species. They were something different, something unique. They were never meant to think, to dream, to build. Yet they had done all those things and more. And now that they knew the truth, they had a choice to make. Would they accept their past, or would they forge their own future? Would they allow the galaxy to dictate their destiny, or would they claim it for themselves? One thing was certain: humanity would not remain silent. And whatever happened next, the galaxy would never be the same again. The silence that followed the shocking broadcast did not last long. Across human-controlled space, scientists, historians, and intelligence agencies scrambled to uncover the truth. If the Galactic Elders had created humanity as a weapon, then where was the evidence? Was it hidden in deep space archives, buried under centuries of misinformation, or erased entirely? On the isolated research station, Helios 3, located in the farthest reaches of explored space, a team of human scientists worked tirelessly to uncover the secrets left behind. Among them was Dr. Elias Carter, a man known for his obsession with uncovering hidden truths. He and his team had been analyzing classified records for years, but the revelation from the elders changed everything. They no longer searched blindly. They now had a direction, a purpose. And when they finally broke through layers of encrypted data, what they found was beyond anything they had imagined. The files were ancient, older than any human civilization, containing records from a time before humanity even knew of the stars. They spoke of a desperate war waged by the Galactic Elders against an unknown enemy, a species so dangerous that every strategy had failed. The Elders had tried everything: advanced weapons, biological warfare, and even genetic manipulation of their own kind. But nothing worked. The enemy adapted too quickly, countered every move, and pushed them to the brink of extinction. That was when they decided to create something new. A species unlike any other. A race that could learn, evolve, and fight without relying on logic alone. A race that would not just follow orders, but would seek victory at any cost. The answer was humanity. According to the records, the first experiments took place on a distant, now forgotten world. Early versions of humanity were bred in controlled environments, their intelligence, strength, and adaptability tested in simulated battles. The Elders designed them to be unpredictable, to think beyond standard military strategy, to use instinct where other species relied on cold calculations. But something happened that the Elders had not foreseen. The humans changed. They adapted too quickly, growing beyond their initial programming. They became self-aware, questioning their purpose, resisting direct control. At first, the Elders thought it was a temporary flaw. But soon, they realized that humans could not be controlled. Instead of remaining as mere soldiers, they started building, thinking, and, most terrifying of all, dreaming of a future beyond war. Dr. Carter read the final entries in the files with growing unease. The Elders had seen the potential of their creation. They had watched as the humans broke free from their artificial limitations, as they spread beyond their designated test zones, refusing to remain as simple tools of war. The Elders had only one choice left. They erased all records, wiped out the remaining test subjects, and abandoned the experiment entirely. They left humanity to develop on its own, hoping they would never rediscover their origins. But now, the truth was out, and it was too late to hide it again. The question remained: why had the Elders chosen to reveal this now? Dr. Carter and his team suspected there was more to the story than the files revealed. If humanity had been abandoned as an experiment, then why did the Elders still watch them from the shadows? Why had they waited for so long before making their declaration? Were they afraid? Or was something far worse happening in the galaxy, something that forced them to admit the truth? As these questions filled the minds of the researchers, an alert flashed across their screens. A fleet of unknown ships was approaching their station. They were not human, and they were not friendly. Panic spread among the crew as they rushed to analyze the incoming vessels. The design did not match any known alien empire, but their energy signatures were terrifyingly familiar. Dr. Carter's hands trembled as he compared the readings with the files they had just decrypted. The match was almost perfect. These ships belonged to the ancient enemy, the very threat that had once pushed the Elders to create humanity in the first place. Somehow, against all odds, the enemy had returned. And if they were still as unstoppable as before, then the entire galaxy was in danger. Aboard the station, alarms blared as the defense systems activated. But deep down, everyone knew they stood no chance against an enemy that had once forced the greatest civilizations into desperation. Dr. Carter made a decision. They could not let this information die with them. He initiated a priority transmission, sending everything they had uncovered to the United Earth government and all major human colonies. The truth had to be known. Humanity had been created for war, and now, after centuries of peace, war was coming for them once again. The first blasts from the enemy fleet struck the station with devastating force. Explosions rocked the corridors as fire and debris filled the air. The crew scrambled for escape pods, but Dr. Carter stayed behind, ensuring the data was sent in full. He watched the transmission complete just as the station's structure began to collapse around him. The last thing he saw before the flames consumed him was the incoming fleet of monstrous ships descending upon the galaxy like a long-forgotten nightmare. On Earth, the message spread rapidly. The United Earth government, already shaken by the revelation of humanity's origins, now faced an even greater crisis. Their creators had abandoned them, their enemies had returned, and the fate of the galaxy now rested on their shoulders. But if history had proven anything, it was that humanity was not just a failed experiment. They had been created to fight, to endure, to survive against impossible odds. And this time, they would not fight for the Elders. They would fight for themselves. The meeting chamber of the United Earth government was filled with tension as the leaders of humanity gathered to discuss the revelation that had shaken the galaxy. The truth of their origins had been exposed, and the long-forgotten enemy of the galactic Elders had returned. The destruction of Helios 3 had been swift and brutal, leaving no survivors. Dr. Carter's final transmission had reached Earth just in time, revealing the horrors that awaited them. Humanity had been created as a weapon, abandoned when they became uncontrollable, and now, their makers had returned not with guidance, but with betrayal. The galactic Elders had not warned them out of kindness. They had done so because they had already made their decision. The ancient enemy was coming, and the Elders had chosen to sacrifice humanity to buy themselves time. It had started with secret negotiations, quiet discussions in the hidden chambers of Elder-controlled space. The message was clear: humanity was dangerous, unpredictable, a failed experiment that should have never been allowed to thrive. If the ancient enemy was to be stopped, sacrifices had to be made. The Elders had struck a deal, offering humanity as a distraction while they fortified their own defenses. The enemy would focus on Earth and its colonies, giving the Elders the time they needed to prepare their own counterattack. In exchange, they would remain safe behind their powerful shields, untouched by the war that was about to consume human space. The betrayal was undeniable. Humanity had spent years believing they were just another species in the galaxy, equal to the others, struggling to find their place among older and wiser civilizations. Now they knew the truth. They had never been equals. They had been a weapon that outlived its usefulness, and now they were being discarded once again. The message had reached every colony, every fleet, every outpost. Humanity stood alone, and the war was coming for them. Across the galaxy, human space erupted into chaos. Panic spread as civilians demanded answers, as military forces prepared for an enemy they did not yet understand. The High Command of the Earth Fleet ordered an immediate mobilization, calling back all ships to defend the core worlds. The outer colonies were left to fend for themselves. No reinforcements would come for them. Every available warship was needed to protect Earth, Mars, and the strongholds of human civilization. It was a decision that would be remembered for centuries, a moment of cold calculation that left billions stranded. Among those abandoned was Captain Adrian Vale, commander of the battlecruiser Ironclad. His ship had been stationed at Perseus Prime, one of the outer colonies that now found itself without. "The High Command has abandoned us," Val said, turning to his crew. "The Elders have betrayed us. The galaxy expects us to fall. But we were not made to surrender. We were made to fight. And that is exactly what we will do." His words spread across the colony, igniting something deep within the hearts of those who heard them. Humanity had always been underestimated, always treated as something lesser. But time and time again, they had proven the galaxy wrong. They had survived against impossible odds. They had built empires in the void. And now, with the enemy approaching and no one to save them, they would do what they had always done: they would fight. The first wave of the enemy fleet arrived in silence, their ships unlike anything ever recorded. Organic, shifting structures that moved through space like living creatures, absorbing light instead of reflecting it. They did not communicate. They did not demand surrender. They simply attacked. Ironclad and the remaining defense forces of Perseus Prime opened fire, unleashing everything they had. The battle that followed was brutal. Human ships were torn apart by weapons beyond their understanding, their shields failing against the sheer power of the invaders. But even as their vessels were destroyed, the humans fought with relentless fury. They adapted, they countered, they found weaknesses where none should have existed. And when the dust settled, the enemy had not won as easily as they had expected. But the battle was only the beginning. More enemy ships were coming, and Perseus Prime would not survive another attack. Vale knew they could not stay. Humanity could not afford to fight alone. They needed allies, needed to make the galaxy see them not as a failed experiment, but as a force that would not be erased. With the remnants of his fleet, he sent a single message to every species that had ever doubted them: "The Elders have abandoned us. The enemy is here. We will not go quietly into extinction. If you value your future, if you value your freedom, stand with us now or watch as we fall, and know that you are next." The message spread like wildfire. The galaxy watched as humanity, left to die, refused to accept its fate. The Elders dismissed it as desperation. The other species hesitated, uncertain if they should interfere. But among them, there were those who understood the truth. Humanity had been created as a weapon, and now that weapon had been turned against the enemy that threatened them all. They had been abandoned before, but they had survived. And if they survived this time, the Elders would regret their betrayal. On Earth, the High Command received Vale's message. They had expected Perseus Prime to be wiped out within hours. Instead, the humans there had made a stand. They had bought time. And in doing so, they had given humanity something it desperately needed: a cause to rally behind. The betrayal of the Elders was no longer just a political matter. It was personal. It was war. And if humanity had been built for war, then it was time to show the galaxy what that truly meant. The call to war had been answered. The battle for humanity's survival had begun. The war had begun. The betrayal of the galactic Elders had fueled humanity's rage, but anger alone would not win this fight. The enemy was unlike anything they had faced before: ancient, relentless, and seemingly unstoppable. Entire colonies had already fallen, their populations wiped out before they could even understand what had attacked them. The High Command of Earth knew that if something was not done soon, humanity would be erased from existence. And yet, deep within the chaos of war, a question burned in the minds of many: why had humanity been created in the first place? If they were meant to be a weapon, then what exactly was their true purpose? On a hidden research facility orbiting Jupiter's ice moon, Europa, a team of scientists had been working in secret, analyzing the ancient data recovered from the destroyed Helios 3 station. Dr. Rebecca Vaughn, one of the leading experts on alien technology, had spent sleepless nights going through the records left behind by the Elders. The answer had to be there. The Elders had created humans for war, but if that were true, why did humanity not possess the advanced abilities of other species? Why had they not been gifted superior technology or biological enhancements? Why were they left to develop on their own? These questions haunted her until she found something that changed everything. Buried deep within the encrypted files was an entry older than any human civilization, written in the language of the Elders. It spoke of an experiment unlike any other. The Elders had not simply created humanity as a weapon, they had created them as a final weapon, one that would adapt and evolve in ways no other species could. Every race in the galaxy had its limits. They reached a point where they could no longer change, no longer improve. But humans were different. To be the strongest, not to be the smartest, but to be the most unpredictable force the galaxy had ever seen. Dr. Vaughn's heart pounded as she read further. The Elders had feared their creation for a reason. They had seen what humanity could become, what they were capable of when pushed to the brink. They had abandoned them not because they failed, but because they were too dangerous. The Elders knew that one day, if humanity ever discovered the truth, they would no longer be controlled. They would rise, and nothing in the galaxy would stop them. Before she could process the full implications of this revelation, alarms blared across the station. Enemy ships had found them. Europa had been compromised. Vaughn grabbed the encrypted data and rushed toward the emergency escape pods, her mind racing with only one thought: this information had to reach Earth. If humanity was to survive, they needed to understand what they truly were. As she launched away from the doomed research station, she watched through the viewport as massive, organic warships descended upon the facility, tearing it apart with energy blasts that left nothing behind. The station was lost, but she had escaped. The truth was safe. Now, she had to deliver it before it was too late. Meanwhile, on Earth's War Council, the situation was worsening. The outer colonies were falling one by one, and no reinforcements were available to stop the enemy's advance. High Admiral Marcus Steele knew that they were running out of time. His fleet, once the pride of humanity, was now battered and outnumbered. They needed something, anything, that could turn the tide of this war. And then, Dr. Vaughn's message arrived. The Council sat in stunned silence as her report played on the main display. The Elders had not just abandoned humanity, they had feared them. And now, as the enemy came to finish what had been started millennia ago, humanity had a choice to make. They could continue fighting a losing battle, or they could embrace what they were always meant to become. Admiral Steele stood, his voice calm but filled with a new fire. "If this is true," he said, "then we have spent too long fighting like the rest of the galaxy, following rules, waiting for permission. But we are not like the others. We were made to fight, to survive, to win. If this is our purpose, then let's prove it." The room erupted into action. The moment of hesitation was over. Orders were given, fleets were mobilized, and a single command was sent across every remaining human-controlled world. No more running. No more retreat. We fight. Across the galaxy, human forces changed their strategy. They stopped defending and started attacking. They abandoned the defensive positions that had been slowly crumbling and instead launched counterstrikes with a level of aggression the enemy had never expected. They hit hard, using unconventional tactics, striking where it hurt the most. Guerrilla warfare, sabotage, unpredictable ambushes, methods that no other species would have dared to use. The enemy had been winning because they had fought predictable wars against civilizations that played by the same rules. But humanity? Humanity rewrote the rules. Within weeks, the tides began to shift. Battles that had once been hopeless now became opportunities for victory. Fleets that had been scattered regrouped into devastating strike forces. And most importantly, the enemy began to hesitate. They had expected an easy war, but what they faced instead was something they could not control. As the war raged on, word spread beyond human space. The other species of the galaxy, once convinced that humanity would be wiped out, now watched in fear and awe. The Elders, safe behind their fortifications, realized their mistake too late. They had unleashed something that could not be stopped. Humanity was no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting for dominance. On the front lines, Captain Adrian Vale and his battlecruiser Ironclad led a decisive assault against an enemy stronghold. As his ship weaved through the burning wreckage of enemy vessels, he gave a single command to his fleet: push forward. No mercy. They had been created to be a weapon, and now, for the first time, humanity embraced what that truly meant. The enemy, once an unstoppable force, was now breaking apart. Their fleets, which had crushed countless civilizations before, were being shattered by a species that refused to surrender. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for the last time. As Earth's forces advanced toward the final battlefield, one thing became clear: the war would end soon. And when it did, the galaxy would never be the same again. Humanity's true purpose had been revealed. They were not just survivors. They were conquerors.